Gatekeeping. That's a fun topic. Let's discuss. So gatekeeping, giving you a general description of it, is essentially when there's a hobby, an interest, anything that creates a community of people, and then that community of people says, you can't enter because reasons. Gatekeeping is usually talked about in any genre of interest, usually talked about within the realms of, oh, you like anime? Name your top 50 favorites, and I'll judge to decide if they're good enough. I don't know why I picked anime specifically as my example, but that's usually the way gatekeeping is discussed, but that's not the way I'm going to discuss it today. Today I'm going to be discussing it more zeroed in on how I see it within the bookish community, within readers. Because it looks different. Anytime I've tried to get into a new genre of reading, I haven't experienced gatekeeping in the way that I usually see gatekeeping discussed. I recently have started trying to get into manga. I've read half of Full Metal Alchemist, which my subscribers remind me of frequently that I haven't finished it yet. I've read Death Note, and I'm working through One Piece. I'm still really new, but when I first expressed an interest in trying out manga, the comments came flooding. People thrilled that I'm going to even give it a try and recommending me the best series. And then as I've slowly been reading through some series, it's not been, you're not a real manga fan, get out. I've never gotten any comments like that. Maybe I'm just really fortunate. But the comments that I have gotten have been people so excited that I'm getting into something that they love. I found that with pretty much any genre that I've tried, and I've tried almost every genre of reading. When I got into classics, people were thrilled to give me classics recommendations and to discuss classics with me. I have gotten some gatekeeping, specifically if I don't like a particular classic, people get real mad and then decide that my thoughts aren't valid. But other than that, I really haven't gotten a lot of it, and frankly, I'm a huge fantasy reader. It's my most read genre, it's my most talked about genre, and I get those same comments when I don't like a really popular fantasy series. So I don't really think that that's necessarily gatekeeping as much as it is just people that are very bad at discussing differing opinions, so they just get aggressive rather than saying, I liked your points here, and here. I disagree with your points here, and here. Here's my perspective. You know, conversations instead of just incoherent yelling. I've already gotten off topic. This is going to be a great video. My point is, what's typically discussed within the realm of gatekeeping is not the gatekeeping that I've experienced in the reading community. I typically, when I'm trying out a genre that I don't read very much of, people are thrilled to be able to discuss with me because readers are really passionate about just reading and like it when someone tries something they love. The gatekeeping I've seen has been elitism. It looks something like this. I only read classics. That's real literature. Ew. Classics are outdated and boring. I read interesting YA books. YA? That's for children. I read adult epic high fantasy. Oh, that's cute. You read fantasy? That's children's stuff. I read stuff that will actually enhance my life. I only read nonfiction. And they all suck. And the reason this grinds my gears so much, no matter what genre they're talking about, is because it's essentially like saying your interests aren't as good as mine because they're not mine. Your tastes suck because you're not a carbon copy of me and only what I like is good. But who determines this stuff? Who decides whose taste is better than whose? Who appoints the hobby police, and who would want that role? Don't get me wrong, people can like what they want to like, and people can dislike what they want to dislike. I haven't enjoyed most of the mystery books I've tried. I rarely read the romance genre, and when I am in the mood for a romance book, I like about a quarter of what I pick up, which is not me bashing the romance genre because there's plenty of that going on as well. Having a specific taste, having a specific interest in a genre, in a category, in an age range, in whatever, is totally fine. And not liking other categories and genres is also fine. It's the moment we start invalidating each other for not being exactly like ourselves. It's the moment we start looking down on or scoffing at other people for liking something different than what we like and determining that our taste is better than someone else's taste because we're better than them. Is that why? I mean, genuinely, why? Why do we assume that our taste is better than someone else's? Better for you? Yes. Better in reality? Don't get me wrong, I know what it's like to be really excited to talk with someone who is interested in the same hobby as you. I have several bookish shirts, and a lot of times people will stop me because I'm wearing a bookish shirt and say, hey, I love reading too, and I'm thrilled to be able to talk to another reader. And usually, when I ask them, sweet, what are some of your favorite books? What kind of genres are you into? Usually, their genres don't align with mine. Not always. One time, I was wearing my book hangover shirt, and it has a definition of what a book hangover is on the shirt. And this guy stopped me in the grocery store to say, hey, I had a book hangover recently. And then that was the end of the conversation to him. Unfortunately, he talked to me, so it wasn't the end of the conversation for me. So I asked him what book, and you could tell he was kind of like, okay. And he said, well, it's someone you probably wouldn't know. He's kind of a niche author. His name is Brandon Sanderson. The poor man. I do feel bad for him. I got so excited. He had just finished the Mistborn trilogy, and I geeked out so hard. I think I might have cornered him in the produce section to talk about Sanderson. Then at the end of the conversation, I asked him what his favorite series is outside of Sanderson, and he told me, and I pulled out my phone, I wrote it down, and then I asked for his name so that I could look him up on social media so that I could read the book that he loves and we could discuss it more. And the poor sweet man, he gave me a fake name and promptly ran away. And I mean, I don't blame him. He probably thought I was hitting on him. I was just really excited to talk to another book nerd. But again, I'm off track. The point is, I know what it's like to find someone who likes the same hobby as you, but they don't like the same niche section of the hobby as you. Usually when someone stops me and says, hey, I love your shirt, I'm a big reader too, and I say, sweet, what genres do you read? What books do you like? And then they go way over here, which is something that I don't read at all. I don't know why they went way over, I don't know why I said it like that. They tell me what they like and it's something that I don't read. It is disappointing. I'm bummed because I can't corner you in the produce section and make you run away. I can't geek out wholly because I don't really have much to say about that author because I don't care for that author's work or I don't read that genre, whatever. But I can still have some sort of conversation with them. I can still talk about the love of reading. I can still ask them, oh, what do you love about that genre? It's not something I'm well read in. I can tell them what I like. We can still have a surface level conversation about a hobby that we both enjoy, which admittedly is not nearly as exciting. I understand the disappointment. But why must we look down our noses at each other? And really, I don't get this that much. I mean, I mentioned at the beginning of the video that I do sometimes, if I say I don't like a book, people will kind of lose their minds at me. But that's not what I'm talking about. Like I said, that's just people that can't really handle differing opinions. I'm more talking about like, those aren't real books or looking down. A lot of times, okay, I don't get it directed at me, but I see it in my comments a lot. I think because I read a wide enough variety of genres that if I am talking about a genre that someone's not interested in, the person doesn't look down on me for reading that book, but they'll look down on people who read that book more than me. Does that make sense? So if I talk about a YA book, if I talk about a romance book, if I talk about, I don't know, something outside of epic high fantasy, which is my most read genre, so what most of my subscribers follow me for, a lot of times I'll see those people in the comments going after other people or just generally saying, ugh, these books aren't nearly as good. These books aren't nearly as deep. These books aren't whatever. And you can have that opinion, that's fine. But why you gotta be a jerk about it? Or somebody will comment and say, oh my goodness, I love these types of books. And then you'll get that person replying to them saying, why? This book is basically trash. And I just don't really get it. I just don't want to, I don't understand why you want to be that person. I don't think the majority of readers that I come in contact with will scoff at liking another genre, but it definitely is something that I still see a lot of. And a lot of people will think that they're not doing it. They'll look at, for instance, classic readers and say, ugh, classic readers are so elitist. But my book is way better than classic books because my book actually does this, this, and this. And it's like, oh, you hate people for doing exactly what you're doing? Okay. I mean, we can like one type of book more than we like another type of book while also still respecting each other. I mean, it's been said before within the gatekeeping sort of conversation that this is a niche interest anyway, right? You tell somebody that you like reading, and half the time they're going to kind of look at you and say, oh, okay, because they think it's boring, they think it's a waste of time, they think it's not as good as how they choose to spend their time because they also suck. So if we're in a niche interest, why in the world would we cause greater divide by looking down at each other because your section of this niche interest isn't as good as my section of this niche interest? Why do we do that to each other? Why? What do we gain? Really, what do we gain? Like, I totally understand finding people who are interested in the same type of thing that you like and going really deep into geeking out with them. I love that too. But why would we want to further alienate each other from ourselves when we can all at least say, hey, we love reading, this is great, I'm not interested in that book, but I'm excited that we get to talk books? Or even just saying, I'm not interested in that type of book, but hey, you're reading, that's great. And then just keep walking and find someone who likes the same types of books as you. I don't know. I don't expect to actually fix anything with this discussion. I don't expect anybody who's doing this to stop doing it because I said, hey, stop. But I did want to talk about it a little bit because I don't like it. I don't like seeing it in my comment section. It bothers me. I even a lot of times will get comments from people who think that they're backing me up and think that they're supporting me. Like, I'll talk about how much I love fantasy, and then they'll say, oh yeah, fantasy is way better than those other genres. Here's a list of reasons why every other genre is inferior to fantasy. And that's not the kind of discussion I'm trying to have. I don't agree with that. I don't think fantasy is superior. It may be my most read genre and my favorite genre to read. Well, I don't know. I really love literary fiction too. It's definitely one of my top genres and definitely my most read genre. But I don't agree with the mentality of it's superior to others just because it's one of my favorites. Something can be my favorite without me thinking that something else is inferior. Anyway, like I said, I don't expect anybody to stop gatekeeping or stop elitism just because I'm talking about it. But I did want to talk about it because it's something that bums me out. I just want us all to respect each other, you know? I support each other's reading, even if it looks different from ours. Anyway, I would love to continue discussing this more in the comments. What do you think on this discussion? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Have you experienced this sort of elitism, gatekeeping in your life as a reader? I'm only one side of the discussion. I'm just trying to open it up, so I'd love to continue chatting with you guys about it. I post videos every Tuesday through Friday. Check out my Patreon if you want to buddy read things, get early access to my videos, or just generally hang out. I post videos every Tuesday through Friday. Just said that. I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.